All right, good afternoon, everybody. Let's get started. My name is Satheesh Iyer. Can you guys hear me in the back? Cool, perfect. So I'm Satheesh Iyer. I'm a product category manager at HP. In my role, I manage the business and the sales enablement for big data for the Americas region. So today, I'm going to talk to you about big data solutions. A lot of you have questions around big data, and there are a lot of disconnected products out there. We're going to show you, is there truly a turnkey solution for big data or not? And you will see throughout the presentation that the answer is yes, and let's get into that. A couple of housekeeping things. Cool, so cell phones, you know that. At the end of the session, we have a drawing for an HP Stream 7 tablet. And if you want to participate in that, please put a business card over there, and we'll do a drawing at the end of the session. Okay? Thank you all for coming. Come on. Come on. Perfect. So we're all in a constant change, and when you talk about change, I'm talking about data change, right? So we're all hearing about a lot of data, data inundation, data deluge. Data is coming from so many different sources. So when you strictly talk about data itself, there are four different things out there. A repository of data called data warehouse, and a data that is non-structured around that called big data. The solutions that you develop, the reports that you develop, all the analytics that you develop is a third one. And the cloud, where you want eventually all the data to go and access it from anywhere, right? So the IT of today is facing this challenge, how to integrate all these requirements at a cost that is affordable to them. So we call this as the new style of IT, or IT supporting the new style of business, right? So when you talk about data, I'm having some challenges with my computer. Give me 1 second. Okay, I think it's working. So a couple of years ago, when you talked about big data, it was an emerging trend. It was a myth. I don't know how many of you really remember, there was a slide that was floating around everywhere called, is big data is really a myth? It's something like a college, a teenage kid's fun. Do any of you remember that slide? Right? So we believe that the big data is no longer a trend, an emerging trend. It's no longer a myth. Because when you talk to the business owners, 70% of them, 7 out of 10, believe that they're going to implement a big data solution in their environment in the next 6 to 12 months. When anybody talks about implementing something in 6 to 12 months, that's a real project they have. Its budget is allocated, resources are talked for, and they're already working into this. And they're doing that for three major things, okay? Number one, they are creating executive dashboards. And second thing, they're building real-time analytics or predictive analysis. And the third thing, it's all around financial data. They want to know real time about the financial information of their company. And those are the three main trends that we from HP start seeing. And we also believe that when you talk to our business owners, over 50% of them believe that there's a real ROI that they can measure and quantify, and they're seeing positive returns in the first year or so after implementing a big data solution. And when you talk about data, the traditional IT is going nowhere, it's still there. That's where billions of their dollars of investment of CapEx and OpEx is already there. But there are three things. The volume, velocity, and variety of data is what's causing the data deluge, right? So all of you are familiar with the CRM systems, the ERP system, the supply chain, the point where you achieve the customer data. And you're combining that with all the new types of data coming from, say, the cell phones or any of the new real-time analytics data coming out there. That's adding the variety to it. And all of this data needs to be combined in an effective way to make sense out of these through the predictive analysis and dashboards. That's what the business is looking for. So just a quick show of hands. Can you tell me, in your space, are you working above the blue line building the analytics and dashboards? Is that what you're doing, or are you working in the space below that? Who is working on above the blue line? Okay, I think it's a 50-50 split. I was expecting that past BA Solution Summit usually have more people working in the line above, the space above the blue line. But still, this is where the challenges of any IT organization is facing. They want to combine the high volume of data with a variety of types of data coming in, combine all of them in an effective environment to make reports and analysis and tools that helps the business to grow. When you talk to our customers and see what's preventing them from achieving this holy grail, what are the barriers out there? If you talk to any of the business owners, say 2 to 3 years ago, most of their challenges were onto the right-hand side of that line. They were talking about hardwares that's not performing enough, or the softwares and tools are not there that can make sense out of the data. But more and more, we see that problem is almost solved. It's around 20% or less challenge for the business owners out there. They feel 3 other barriers out there that's causing that's giving them grief. The number one is the IT budget. We all know IT is a cost center. It's getting more and more stringent, and it's always like do more with the less is always there in the IT. And when they want to implement any solution around data, it's getting more and more expensive. So over 60% of them say that the budget is the number one challenge. The second challenge they face is around integration. Like I showed in the previous slide, there are billions of dollars invested in the traditional IT, the standard infrastructure out there. They cannot throw that out, right? So when you have disconnected solutions for your customer data and the new data that's coming in, integration of that is a big challenge. That's where they're spending the bunch of their monies too. And finally, getting the qualified people who can work in the new technologies. These are the 3 major barriers the business owners are facing. And when you want to implement any solution, the traditional program management requirements are all out there, right? So the IT is going to talk about performance, or business is going to talk about it should perform well. This is all mission critical data. So you need to have redundancies in your infrastructure. You need to have availability and reliability built into it. And you need your standard call centers and support staff should be able to manage it. Right. So all of these challenges adding to the cost of implementing or implementation process, it takes too long, more than a couple of years. That's where they started seeing any return in investment. So when any organization talks about implementing a big data solution, there are 3 or 4 different ways to do that. The number one is expand the infrastructure that you have to include the volume of data coming in, right? So you can scale up your storage, you can double or triple or whatnot to include all the new data coming in, and you add more compute power, you build your network to perform faster. This is all a scale-up model. There's a limit of the scalability that you can achieve with that. You cannot achieve the scalability beyond certain petabytes or certain terabytes for that matter. Or when you really want to integrate all the business requirement with the infrastructure requirement, there are technology solutions available out there, whether it's Netezza's or Teradata's of the world. There are solutions out there that's available to you, but the cost is prohibitive. Implementation time is around 2+ years. So it is not affordable to lots of customers that I'm talking about with the limited IT budget they have. And when you implement any new proprietary or new solutions out there, your IT staff need to be retrained, the tools need to be rechanged, your SLAs need to be changed. The whole bunch of process change that happens, that means the training time around that is too huge. And finally, you have disconnected solution. There is a solution for your OLTP environment. There is a data warehouse environment on the side. There is a Hadoop infrastructure out there. Then you have tools connecting all of this to pull the data from one source into a centralized data warehouse. Then you have tools that is making sense out of data by doing analysis and predictive analysis, all kinds of tools out there. I mean, it's so complex that you will be very hard to figure out where something is broken, or how can you make a real-time change and adapt to a business change. It's very hard for any environment, any IT organization to make those changes. So like I said, the three major issues the IT organizations are facing are the IT budget constraints, your complexity of the environment, and staff, right? So if you look at these four methods that's available traditionally in the field today, all this is adding to the cost and complexity, and you don't really have any staff to do this. And we believe when we talk to our customers, this is the number one challenge. This is the challenge that everybody's facing, and they're trying to solve. And if you solve this, this is the holy grail, right? So you solve the big data problem. So the question is, everybody kind of agrees that the big data is no longer an emerging trend. You need that to be agile and efficient and progress in your business. But you have certain limited tool sets, and you don't have the capability or money to fund it. What do we do is the question. So that's where the question comes to HP. Is there really a tool or a turnkey solution for big data that simplifies all of this? So at HP, we believe in three things from a new age IT point of view. We believe in fast, simple, and efficient. That's what our customers are asking for. They want a solution that'll keep up with their performance requirement, their availability and reliability requirement, and they need a solution that should be efficient for their staff to manage, not only from an operational perspective, but it should be efficient enough for the end user to build anything out of it and make sense out of it and develop their reports and analyses. And it should be simple enough to deploy, sustain, and manage, right? So in any project, there are three parts to it. Number one is your decision on, okay, we have a problem, we want to solve the problem, and let's go address it, and you have a plan to address it. That's the planning phase. Then the second phase is the deployment of that planning. You want to implement that in the shortest amount of time possible, so you have a time to value, then you can get a return on that investment that you're investing in the first phase in, say, 6 to 12 months. And eventually, you also need to sustain that to get a life out of this for say, next 3 to 5 years. So the IT infrastructure is not depreciated in 2 years these days. It's going from 3 to 5 years. So from the planning, deployment, and sustaining point of view, everybody's looking for this fast, efficient, and simple model. And when you talk to our customers, there are three ways they consume this. One is on the right-hand corner over there. It's an appliance model where they want everything pre-built, pre-configured with some built-in flexibility to adapt into their environment. We call that our converged systems. It's an appliance model, and there are a couple of converged systems that we have. One is built around Microsoft, and another one is built around SAP. And I'm going to focus more on the Microsoft here. That's one model. The second one is reference architectures. A lot of large IT cannot take just an appliance and install there. They have lots of processes that's legacy in nature, and they need flexibility in building and inserting something into their environment. So we have reference architecture, which is essentially a recipe to solve a given problem, whether it is in the Hadoop space or it's in the Oracle space or Microsoft or whatnot. We have enough reference architecture that we provide to a customer. And finally, we have a Haven product that's our a consumption model. So you have an appliance model, you have a reference architecture model, and you have a consumption model. I believe with these three models of delivery of solutions, we're covering most of our customer needs. So I want to stick to the HP Convert system. We call it CS300 or Convert System 300 for Microsoft Analytics Platform. That's what the focus of this session is all about, right? So CS300 is essentially a platform, an appliance built around Microsoft's APS solution. APS stands for Analytic Platform Systems, and it is one of a kind of a solution out there. We believe that integrates all the requirements that a customer is looking for. Number one, from a performance perspective, it is integrated with the in-memory performance feature that makes it almost 100 times faster. It's around 10,000% faster than the previous generation of data warehouse and query response time. It includes the massively parallel processing method of data warehouse that helps it to scale and provide concurrency for lots of users to connect at the same time and get the data out of it. The MPP data warehouse makes the data warehouse performance 30% faster. And finally, the HP and Microsoft jointly built an appliance around it with the promise that it should be easier to implement as well as affordable. So we believe from a like-to-like comparison with our competitors, it's 50% cheaper, lower cost per terabyte to implement this. So the HP Convert System 300 is the appliance that is plug and play, and I'll walk you through the details of HP 300, CS300 and show how it is built in a modular way. So what's in this? Okay, the number one, this CS300, as like I said, is an appliance. That means it's built it at our factory. All the hardware is racked, stacked, and wired. We are pre-installing the software. That includes the Microsoft PDW software. If anybody requires the HD Insight, we are pre-installing that software. Windows 2012 is pre-installed. And we are pre-installing the management system into it. So it's a completely built, pre-integrated, pre-installed hardware and software pre-installed appliance that shows up as a box on site that's ready to be plugged in and integrated into anybody's system. On top of it, we have HP and Microsoft joint collaborative support. I'll walk you through that down the line. So it is a end-to-end pre-integrated, pre-built system. Comes as an appliance form, ready to be plugged into your system. It's not the first appliance we built, right? So there is a legacy to this. It's the third generation of the appliance. In 2011, HP and Microsoft jointly built the first data warehouse appliance. Like you see, there are 2 racks in it, so it was big. It took bigger footprint, more power and cooling for that. Its scalability was limited. And in 2013, Microsoft built the first parallel data warehouse solution, and HP built that. It got shrunk to a single rack, and that's the first true MPP data warehouse out in the market. And in 2014, we built the Analytic Platform APS solution, which integrated the traditional RDBMS along with the new big data, unstructured data in one single appliance. We call that as the APS solution. And later in the second half of this year, we're going to build a solution with our newer generation of the hardware that includes the Haswell processors, if you care. That's the latest one from the Intel. It makes it even more faster and efficient. So why HP CS300 when you talk about it? If you remember the challenges the customers are facing, right? So the number one that we have is the deep integration of the technology, both structured data and unstructured data in the same solution. The second thing is jointly HP and Microsoft built in so much management softwares into this, so you can manage both your application your software and the hardware is from the same tools that you have. They're all built into it. It's highly scalable from around 5 terabyte all the way to 6 petabytes in data size. So any company that's growing in data volume, this helps you to start at a quarter rack capacity all the way up to 6 petabytes. That's a huge scalability that's built into it. And it's also, like I said, it's around 50% reduced price compared per terabyte compared to our competitors. When you looked at in the past slides, well, oh, dang it. I'm hitting the wrong button. Sorry about that. Okay, so when we looked at the challenges that the customers are facing, they're talking about limited scalability, the complexity that is built around, the cost, and significant training that is required. That's what our customers are talking about. I think we got all of that addressed in this model with the highly scalable, deeply integrated product is addressing most of their pain points. And this is the only product out there, I believe arguably the only product out there with a built-in Hadoop big data solution along with the traditional structured data. Microsoft APS helps to integrate both the structured and unstructured in the same solution, and HP built all of that into the same rack. What does that give to you? It means that both the structured and unstructured data is now secure. They have their own orchestration and management layer that you can manage from the same appliance. They live together, and more importantly, they can be queried with the same transact SQL that you're all familiar with. You don't need any specific tool to query 2 different sets of data and integrate them. They all come into the same space. Now they are secure, and it can be easily queried, and your reports can be built around that. Okay? So the HD Insight is actually an enterprise-ready Hadoop distribution from Microsoft. And like I said before, all of this software, HD Insight is actually an optional thing. If you don't want that, that's okay. But this is pre-installed for you so that your IT staff don't need to spend months installing all the software before it can be productive. So like I said before, so it's 100%, 100 times faster query speed, 30% better scan rate, lower acquisition costs, and lower terabyte cost per terabyte. That's what we're trying to solve here. So let's look at a little bit more on the Converge System 300, look a little bit more and how it is built around. So 3 parts to it. It's number 1, it's enterprise ready for big data. Like I said, your data, you can consolidate all your data into a data warehouse called PDW. It's massively parallel processing. That means it can scale out, not just scale up. And it's integrated with the unstructured Hadoop database along with that, right? And the Hadoop comes from the enterprise-ready Apache Hadoop distribution from Microsoft, pre-installed into the appliance. All of this data can be queried with the transact SQL, and there are different deployment options over here. So this is, you don't necessarily have to have the appliance with all of this pre-installed. You can start where you're comfortable with. If you're comfortable with having just the structured data, you can buy this appliance just with the structured data setup. And on-site, down the line, when you're ready to integrate your big data and your Hadoop data cluster, you can on-site upgrade it down the line. And HP and Microsoft can help you to migrate from a traditional RDBMS data warehouse to an integrated RDBMS down the line. Okay? That's one part. The next one is the scalable performance, right? So the 2 things that came with this, the latest generation of SQL is the in-memory capability. The in-memory capability makes the queries run super fast, and the latest generation of the servers makes the processing even better, right? And down the line, in the second half of this year, we're going to even upgrade the processors to the Intel Haswell processors. That makes it even more faster. And the concurrency of the user that comes from the PDW software helps you to run so many processes, so many queries at the same time. And finally, your investment protection, right? So this is the only single integrated appliance out there that integrates the structured and unstructured in the same appliance. So our ASP3 Converge System 300 is built around to solve the customer needs that we talked about in the past. So what do we have in it? So at the very minimum, you have a massively parallel scale-out processing PDW region. That's the minimum requirement in it. It gives you around a 3 terabyte of real storage. With a 5-to-1 compression, it gives you around 15 terabytes of storage to begin with. It comes with 2 management servers, one for redundancy, and it's all connected, interconnected with an InfiniBand switch. InfiniBand switch makes the connections about 50 times faster than your traditional switch connections that you have out there. And then you can scale it out with additional data units or an HD Insight unit. So you can have a standard structured database unit, and you can scale it out 3 more of that, or you can add a Hadoop data unit into it. So this is the minimum configuration with structured and unstructured. The previous slide shows about the minimum configuration just for the traditional RDBMS. Okay? And all of this comes with its own orchestration and management in the same appliance, so you can manage it easily. The IT management is simplified. Now this is where an appliance is creatively built to scale to the customer needs. Like I said, the base unit can come with one RDBMS PDW unit. You can scale it up with additional data units, or you can add the AC Insight Hadoop units. You don't necessarily have to have all of them in equal proportions. You can do the way, you can grow the way you're ready to grow. If you're more structured data, that's what you have. You can grow with the structured units. If you want to add additional big data units, you can scale with the big data units. The starting unit is around 8 nodes. That's what you have. The base rack is a quarter rack, and then the fully populated rack is around 8 nodes, and it can grow up to 64 nodes. That gives you a total capacity of around 6 petabytes for PDW region and around 1.2 petabytes for your Hadoop region. So this is the largest scale that you can get. Like I said, you can start pretty small, grow as you need, and you can integrate more and more of your data into the same unit by adding additional units. Now, when you want to implement any new infrastructure, the traditional IT requirements are all come into play. Your high availability, your reliability, your performance requirement, this is all taken care of. All of this includes the high availability nature of HP's hardware, and the high availability redundancy is built into with additional units so that it can have a mission critical data warehouse implementation that got both structured and unstructured data. Now, lot of customers start with a traditional data warehouse, and they're playing around with their big data requirement, right? So like I said before, you can start with a traditional data warehouse, which is a structured data. That's where you can start. And when you're ready to implement your big data requirement, you can upgrade this on-site. HP and Microsoft works hand in hand. Our support and services will come on-site and upgrade the units to include the HD Insight. We'll pre-install the HD Insight, the Hadoop software. We'll implement this hardware into it. We integrate it, and it can be upgraded. And thereafter, it can scale both structured and unstructured space within this appliance. And the management is built in. We have 2 management tools, one for the hardware, one for the software. So the HP's management layer for the hardware helps you to identify problems. It'll identify and fine-tune it and optimize it, the hardware performance to match the software performance. And on top of it, you can have the Microsoft software management tools that you're very familiar with to monitor the software performance and your application performance. So they are integrated into this appliance. And HP services. So the support for this works in a collaborative fashion. HP and Microsoft provide collaborative support. Microsoft provides the support for all the software side of it and application of it, and HP provides all the support for the entire appliance. And you can consume that in so many different models, and HP services can come and advise you on your migration of your data warehouse and your maturity around that, and they can come and advise you on where do you want to start. And they can help you to migrate your existing infrastructure into the CS300, help you to migrate and deploy that, and eventually they can also remotely operate operate the appliance for you if you choose to, or they can provide you the simple support. So there are a couple of support models that you have out there. The two things that you get by default is from Microsoft Premier Support. That's the standard support for the appliance from a software perspective, and HP's Proactive Care. You can upgrade that to Microsoft Premier Mission Critical Support for the entire appliance. And also, from an HP point of view, you can upgrade the Proactive Care to the personalized support option, where you're going to get a specifically assigned account manager, and you also get proactive support training. You can also upgrade from an HP point of view to the critical support that is built around ITIL processes. So it depends on where you want to have the support, whether you want to have your own IT staff manage it, or you want HP to remotely manage it. We can provide all of that capability. So HP and Microsoft, we have arguably industry's pretty long-standing relationship. It's over 30 years we work together. So like you see, we have huge numbers of certified and trained professionals. And Microsoft also develops all their application and solutions on HP's Reliant line of servers. What does that mean to you? It means that whenever they're developing, they're already taking advantage of the HP hardware capabilities. The industry-leading performance of the hardware and the technologies is built in right from the get-go. Our engineers talk to each other, and all these the upcoming releases are ready to take advantage of either the hardware capability or the new software capability. So like I said before, so this is the industry's the fastest appliance for your structured and unstructured data together. It gives you a 30% better performance than your previous generation of data warehouses at around 50% lower cost. So when you talk to your IT folks, there are a couple of changes that happened in the recent past. You're already having a capability to run the PDW software. If you have, most of the IT have an unlimited license for SQL Server, core-based licenses, or many of the organizations have extra licenses flying around. It is very common. You wouldn't believe it. So if you have around 32 cores of SQL Server lying around, you can actually convert that into a PDW license. It's pretty easy. All you need is to talk to your Microsoft rep, and they'll convert that. And you already have the capability to run your PDW software. And when you have a when you already have a PDW software, it's pretty easy to integrate that into hardware. And that actually helps your deployment cost pretty low. So if you talk to your IT staff, and if you're interested in developing that, we can help you to migrate your SQL Server Enterprise license into a PDW and deploy the CS300 solution for you. Some more information. I'll leave the slides out here at the distribution through PASS. You can go to these websites. All the information are available both HP and also in Microsoft. If you have any other questions, I'll be hanging around for next half an hour plus, and we can have a one-on-one conversation. So any questions so far? Can you say the question one more time?
So the question is, you mentioned it reduces, when we use the system, it reduces the amount of space, hardware space required by some percentage value. So how does it happen? I mean,
so from a generational perspective, the question is, it reduces the hardware space requirement, and how do you do that? From the past generation perspective, it is the storage requirement for the data warehouse has shrunk, and there's a compression factor 5-to-1 built into it that the Microsoft technology can take advantage of. That's one of the main reasons why it shrunk. And also, now that you have both structured and unstructured data in the same footprint, the hardware requirements have changed, and they designed it in such a way that you can pack more in a lesser space. And over the last few years, the hardware technology has also evolved. That means you have more dense storages. Your controller for the storage is smaller. Your processing power is more. So you just need less hardware to run it. So its hardware is getting more and more efficient. If you look at it, in the past 3 years ago, when you asked the customers the barriers were all on the software and the hardware side. So it evolved to have better hardware as well as the software technologies evolved, and that's how it shrunk. The other thing that we talked about is compared to our competitors, the price per terabyte is around 50% lower. That's another number, 50%, right? So when you look at an overall cost of deployment and implementation, it is cost effective compared to a cost prohibitive proprietary solutions out there in the market. Any other questions? Cool. So thank you all for coming.